Okay, so I'll go ahead. So first of all, I want to thank everybody for attending. We really appreciate your time and being here. A tremendous thank you to the German American Chamber of Commerce for partnering with us for this information session. My name is Ian Schomberg. I am the recruitment manager for the executive MBA program at Georgia State University.
Great. Thanks, Ian. And welcome again, everyone. My name is Thais Voot. For those who I haven't met, I'm the events manager at the GACC South. So if you have any events related questions, just feel free to reach out. But before we get started, as you saw, this is going to be recorded. So if you want to reference it later, it will be sent to you. So don't worry about swiftly taking notes or anything. And then we also encourage, if you have any comments or questions, to ask them throughout. We want to try to keep this conversational. It's not too formal of a presentation per se, because we are here to answer, or Ian is here to answer all your questions. So let's get started. I'm happy to welcome our member, Marcus Rimila with Digital who can share a little bit of his experience in the program. Marcus.
Yeah, hello everybody. Glad to be invited as an alumni from the Georgia State University Robinson College of Business and the MBA class of 2018. And I'm happy to share my experience with the program, which, to just sum it up, helped me in growing and brought me to where I am right now, an entrepreneur with my own company, Digitalitum, where I sell and implement digitalization tools to the manufacturing industry.
And Marcus is going to talk to us about his journey throughout the EMBA program, because his background, and may be similar to yours, to other people on this info session, about normally there are certain programs that require a bachelor's degree, but with the EMBA you don't necessarily have to have a bachelor's degree, but definitely, and we'll talk about this in a few minutes, but definitely to have a tremendous background and work experience. So Marcus, would you like to kind of briefly explain about your background, your work experience background prior to the EMBA program?
Yeah, I'm happy to share. As you hear from my funny accent, I'm originally from Germany, and 2008 I came over with a work transfer. I worked back then for a German machine builder, and they put me from their headquarters in the Stuttgart area to the US subsidiary in the Atlanta area. And I've been in the machine building industry my entire professional career, made my way up from an apprenticeship to a journeyman, did then a further education as a so-called, in English translated, state certified engineer in electrical engineering, programmed machines, did project management on site. And after a few years in the US, I decided that I actually like it here and I want to stay here much longer. But I also felt that I need to do more on the education side in order to be successful further into the career. And I decided to do an US university degree. And I looked first into some different engineering programs, and then they all told me you have to more or less start from scratch again because your German education doesn't count. I didn't want to do that. Also, my whole interest shifted more into the managerial field, where I wanted to learn more, which focused me to get into an MBA program. And in the application process on several different local Atlanta universities, a lot of time came the issue up that my German education doesn't actually qualify for or is not equivalent to a US bachelor degree. And I already thought that my vision of getting an MBA is already gone. But then talking to Georgia State University, they explained me that with my background, my experience, there could be a way if I just passed the GMAT exam. So I decided to do the GMAT, which looking back was actually a very good preparation because it brought me back into the studying and learning and going through all this math, English grammar and all that stuff, what it's about. And I think it gave me a good head start when then finally the EMBA program started. And specifically, I have to say this first week of residency, that felt like Army boot camp. So it was not like, yeah, we start slowly and blah, blah, blah. It went from 0 to 100, but I was prepared. I made it through the 18 months, juggling work, family, and the program, and graduated. And from there, I just started now a year ago my own company to just describe the Digitalitum. And with everything I learned from the EMBA program, specifically on the business side of things, plus my engineering experience, that is now my baby.
Well, we definitely, appreciate, Marcus's input in all this, and he's going to be from time to time, with his invitation, his input throughout the program. So if there's anything that he's like, yep, I agree with that, he'll definitely let us know, because he went through this firsthand. And if anybody has any questions, please stop me, stop Marcus, stop anybody. And we'll definitely answer questions. This is not one of those presentations where you have to wait to the end. This is what we're here for, to answer questions throughout this presentation. So with all that being said, we're just going to go ahead and get started. And again, we thank everybody for being here. Oh, we already have a raised hand.
Marcus,
yes. Sorry.
Or Ian, maybe one of you can answer my question. Does it mean that all foreign students have to go through this entry exam or this entry session before you be matriculated into the new system?
Good question.
Is it a prerequisite or?
It is not a prerequisite. And the info sessions are basically given an understanding as to how the program is set up, the expectations, and what the program is all about. Do students have to go to info sessions? They do not. When Marcus did the GMAT, which is one of the standardized tests, they are now waiving that test. Sorry, Marcus. So you don't have to take the GMAT in order to, when you're applying for the program. And the reality is there aren't any standardized tests that you do need to take. For the admissions process, it's just determined on your work experience, your background, your education, what your career objectives are, where you see yourself in a few years with the EMBA degree. So to answer your question, your great question in a long form, you don't have to do certain tests, but you do have to go through an orientation, like Marcus was saying in the beginning. There is a residency that you do have to attend. There are a couple of orientations there's one orientation that you do have to attend. If you're an international student, you do have to attend an international student orientation that's held by the university. But that is geared towards getting green card issues taken care of, visa information taken care of, and it's more of a check-in on their end. From the university and aligning with federal guidelines and procedures. And College of Business, the EMBA, has their specific orientation to attend, start the program. But again, very good question. Does that answer your question, Enoch?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Because I did my bachelor's degree in Germany, so I was thinking maybe I have to go through the same process. Bachelor's degree is not valid in America.
No, not at all. Not at all. But that's a fair question to ask, though. So what we'll do is, and I have the slides, and a lot of times I will probably I'll just kind of glaze over because everybody can read the slides. I don't want to insult anybody's intelligence by restating obvious stats or statements. but you can see by the different publications where we're ranked. What I like to focus on, not only just the alumni, Marcus being one of the amazing 1,500 plus EMBA alumni, 80,000 alumni from the College of Business. But also I like to look at is the Poets and Quants Executive. This is one of the newer rankings of the top 10 value-based EMBA programs under $100,000. I think that's huge because I know that when you're looking for an EMBA program, I understand and highly respect that you look at a price point and you see the higher the price point, there's greater concern. Is it worth it? And this presentation, I'm 100% confident that it will explain why that stat is vital to your decision. We can compete with anybody out there with our tremendous program. And again, just by the numbers and rankings, how we have been doing that so far. And not just that, with that, we have faculty who I think are second to none. They are experts in the field, they're consultants, they have extensive experience in the field. They do what they call pracademics, right? Which is practical academics is kind of a word that we made up. But you're not just, and Marcus can definitely speak to this, it's not just you're going to be sitting in the back of a classroom, writing down answers from a test, A, B, C, D, check out the right answer. These are class discussions, these are group projects, these are one-on-one with professors, and this is a practical nature of the curriculum. It isn't teacher and student, it's more of teacher with professional. They talk with you, they don't talk down to you. You're not, a lot of the professors don't call them by their last name, call them by their first name. That's the kind of relationship that you have. And Marcus, who was, not to dilute any other professor, but was there a professor that you called by first name often, or was there a professor that you liked? That you really enjoyed?
To say, I actually liked all of them, and what I really liked is that the majority, not even all of them, not have only an academic career. There were a lot of them would have actually a career in private industry and were, let's say, close to retire or already retired, and then worked in the academic field. And I think specifically for that program, that's the value what you want. You want really people who have this experience and they're willing to share that.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And not just that, and you also we handpicked the EMBA faculty. So it's literally the best of the best of the College of Business. And it is the extensive background that they have, and then they can bring that to the classroom. And again, these are consultants with years and years in the field. We Professor Thielman, who teaches corporate law. He's currently a lawyer. You have Dr. Nate Bennett, who does organizational leadership. He's published by Forbes magazine right now, and he has a book out. So again, we have numerous professors who are, dare I say, experts in the field, and they're here to help you succeed. Dr. Eisman, Pete Eisman, who teaches accounting, he'll do info sessions, not info sessions, but prep sessions prior to exams to ensure that you do well. And I don't know a lot of professors who on a grad level basis who will do that. Not a lot, but Dr. Eisman is definitely one of those individuals who does that. And he's just a tremendous person for sure. So talking about why we're doing this. Oh, yes. Hi. Yes, I apologize.
No worries. I just raised my hand.
Yes.
So would you be able to kind of deep dive a little bit more into what a day in one of the classes looks like? Is there a chance to be, out on the field to kind of see, something instead of in the classroom?
Yes.
Just an idea to give everyone like a picture of what the course would be.
Absolutely. So when we're talking about that, the schedule. So it's going to be Friday, every other Friday and Saturday from 5:30 to 9:30 on Fridays, and then 9 to 6 on Saturdays. And what that would be is 2 classes each semester. There are some classes that will last longer. So not every class is going to be 3 credit hours. Some classes will be like 1.5 credit hours. Some classes can be 4 credit hours. Just depends on the length of the amount of time you're in a certain class. But each class you are doing, group projects, class projects. It's not a professor at the board lecturing and you're taking notes. It's numerous conversations. It's projects. There is a domestic residency in the beginning of the program, and then there is an international residency at the end of the program. And this coming cohort is going to be going to South Africa. And they're going to be there for 9 or 10 days. And Marcus, I'm guessing, was on, I believe 2018 was South Africa. Is that right, Marcus?
Southeast Asia.
With Southeast Asia.
To Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand in a 2-week trip, and it was just super awesome.
Yeah, and to Marcus's part, we will definitely go over that a little more towards the presentation. But to answer the question of, like what the day in the life of it, it is the classes every the weekend, but also once you're out of the classroom, you are prepping, whether you are with your cohorts for maybe, the average they say is 15 hours a week of prep work. So there may be some cohorts that will meet every Tuesday on their own to talk about the class projects. Maybe the cohort won't meet every other Tuesday. Maybe they meet every Monday and Wednesday. But when you are in the program, you are connected with a specific cohort. The administration, based upon personality assessments, we will group you into a specific 5 or 6 person cohort, and that will be your specific group throughout the 17 months. Now, keeping in mind that small cohort is in the whole, so you have about 4 or 5 cohorts within that big cohort. So you're going to be going with other people. And Marcus probably has like his friends. He's probably he's friends with still, I'm guessing.
Actually, yes, I'm meeting with them tonight.
Is that from your specific cohort or from another group?
Yes. So just to kind of explain it in different words, what I like about the program of GSU and their EMBA is that you start with a whole class. We were about 35 people, and this class goes together throughout the entire program. So it's not like at other MBA programs where you were together for this course and then you have some other people for this course. So you are one class, and then this class is broken down into what we called back then teams, which have about an average 5 to 6 people, and the school is actually defining the team back with their magic. On the assignments you get in the different courses, there can be personal assignments, so you have to do them by yourself, and there can be team assignments where then the team has to come together and get this assignment done on a specific deadline, and the grade for that project goes then to everybody in this particular team. That sounds all easy from the outside, but of course it has its challenges, as everybody in the team has different experience, different background, different industry, different strong areas and shortfalls, and to put that all together and produce a good work at the end on the deadline is a challenge. But we just look in our regular working environment. Within your work environment, we work in teams too, and we have their shortfalls and delays, and people don't do their work issues as well. And so you have to deal in this EMBA environment with the same thing. But that's where also the leadership component comes in, and where you can learn and train to get better and bring this team together to deliver at the end.
And with that, and with what Marcus is saying, is that in addition to that, we help you with your career, right? And by that, we do have leadership development courses. We have expert coaching. We have professionals that are a mentorship program. In addition to that, we have personality assessments that you take in the beginning of the program. And that's how the EMBA admissions committee determines how your team, because to Marcus's point, we don't want people with the same background on the same team. We specifically design the teams with diverse backgrounds, with diverse experiences in diverse fields. Again, because we believe that in order to solve a problem, you need to get different points of view. Getting the same point of view to solve a problem will not solve the problem. So that's why it's imperative, and we definitely focus on that diversity, and we definitely encourage the diversity. So moving on to Marcus talked about this, talking about the connections, that and the importance of that, but also Lean Six Sigma Green Belt certification, RCB certificate in change leadership. We focus on the leadership aspect. We focus on these connections as well, because we want you to have these connections once you graduate. We want you to have these opportunities, these lifelong networking opportunities, and these lifelong connections, long after you finish the program, because it's great to go to people of your level and to ask them questions about maybe a business project or a business concern that you have, because it's great to go to somebody else that's not inside your company to bounce ideas off of. Believe me, I mean, I've seen it happen many times. People are just very concerned about asking their superiors or asking their colleagues within the company about certain questions, because that could damage a relationship, that could damage it politically, that could damage a possible career opportunity. So that's why it's just so important to have this diverse network, so you can, have these connections and just get some ideas and just ask some questions that you can't ask to other people. In addition to all of this, you get add-on value certificates with data analytics and fintech, which I highly recommend doing. If you don't have, or maybe you have just a brief knowledge of data analytics or fintech, in the second spring semester, I highly recommend taking those value add-on certificates, just to get that base knowledge, to get a little more terminology when you get to those meetings about data analytics and fintech. I just think, because when you're doing the data analytics, you're working with our students in the MS Analytics degree in their program, and you have those individuals working with EMBA and vice versa. And because of this, you have another great connection on how do you talk to individuals who are knowledgeable in analytics, and vice versa. How do people in analytics talk to people in the business world? Believe me when I say it's two different languages. It really, really is. And I think that the data analytics and the fintech value add certificates is just a great opportunity to bridge those languages together to get a basic understanding as to how do you talk to each other. And as Marcus was saying, another of the international residency about going to Southeast Asia, and Marcus isn't the only one. The word transformative is a commonly used word to describe that international residency. Marcus, where did you go in Southeast Asia company-wise when you went?
We did a bunch of different companies. I think total for the whole trip was 15 or 16. And from international companies, like we visited Coca-Cola Vietnam, to a local hospital, which was founded by an Israeli in Vietnam, by filling up a business need because there was no emergency services there. And that was actually the cool thing to see, like the big international companies doing the local business, but also how local businesses working there and are on their path of internationalization. On top of that, different things from manufacturing to lawyers, to industry organizations, to big building companies, just widespread. And on some of these companies, we even did some project work for them. So We got a topic, and then as a team, we worked on that and presented our results then in these companies and asked for feedback, which was a great experience. And
I think that what
on top of that, the whole cultural thing. Me personally, I was traveling for business the last 30 years. So for me, going into another country wasn't a big thing. And I have been to Asia before. Some of my classmates had to actually apply for their passport first. And they were highly excited and sometimes scared of how to do things. That was also kind of an interesting part as well, to have that in a whole class, different types of people, like the ones who only eat in the hotel and are scared to get food poisoning, versus the others who go from one street food stand to the next to explore the wildest and the best. And you can now guess to what group I belong to.
I was just gonna say, you might be this. I'm thinking you're like the street food person.
Yes, and I didn't have any issues health-wise, so all good. And of course, there was some alcohol involved as well for disinfection purposes, of course.
And there was something that you mentioned that I think that you don't recognize until you experience the situation of what are other countries' problems over there that are not problems over here, and how would you solve them with the resources that they have. And I think I was talking to another alumni about one of the problems that they had in South Africa were potholes. And the reason that was a challenge is because how do you fix potholes with the resources they had? Because their transportation, that causes transportation issue. So you wouldn't think about, a pothole leads to transportation, which leads to logistics. But to Marcus's point is you're seeing different things that you wouldn't see otherwise. And even as Marcus being a great traveler, maybe I don't want to speak for you, did you see problems that you didn't think were problems before?
Yeah, that was actually a good example. And that visit we did in this hospital founded by an Israeli in Vietnam who worked there as a doctor and then found that there's no emergency services. And by this, he just founded an emergency service with what we know state-of-the-art emergency vehicles, targeting actually the Western immigrants and expats to provide to them the kind of first level service they expect when they are in a country, to then help also that more of the expats come, which then helps the overall industry and business to grow. And we see on the example of Vietnam where they are right now. They're really doing well in this overall international challenge and globalization.
And so all that being said, and we're talking about the international residency, domestic residency, but the question of what is it? Who is this program right for, or what does it look like? What does a student look like in the CMB program? So someone who is more seasoned in their career with a good amount of management experience, a good amount of work experience, as you can see, 10 years of management experience. Averages, the bold underline highlight, average years of work experience, average age. And one of the things to look at here is the last bullet point of the salary increase of 18% by completion of the program. This is not the completion of the program. Do you see the increase? This is while you're in the program, do you see the increase? This is once you get this knowledge, you can apply it maybe at certain meetings, your mindset changes, and you're now offered some different opportunities. And there are many, many people that have gone through the program and have gotten promotions while in the program, or they've gotten raises while in the program, or they've got promoted once they have completed the program. Marcus, did any of those situations happen to you or someone in your cohort?
Yeah, so from the diversity age and so on, I fully agree. So in our class, the average was around 40 in age. So I was, for example, thinking at the beginning, do I get now in a class with a bunch of 20-year-olds, which can be good, but has also its challenges,
Right.
because I want to talk to, if I do a program like this, with kind of same-minded people who have kind of a similar experience. So the 40 years, 15 years of work experience, everybody in a job position level, manager, director, VP, or even CEO, or something in between. The diversity in gender plus international students, or let's just say people which are not born in Atlanta. That was all the case in my cohort as well. And the majority of my cohort where I still have contact to, also advanced in their career, meet their next steps, and so on. So overall, successful program.
And so as you can see here, talking about this is the breakdown of the program. You start with a cohort from day one up until the day of graduation. Everybody's in the same classes. It is a small team size, and you take 2 classes a semester. So you're never bogged down with 3 or 4 or 5, and which is a good thing. What we do is when we do the curriculum, we try to pair a quantitative with a qualitative class. So you're not either front-ended or back-ended with a certain type. So if you're not a very quant-heavy person, we don't want you getting all these financial accounting, corporate finance in the beginning, and then have qualitative classes at the end. So we do mix it up throughout the program. And then as you can see, when they meet, it's 5:30 to 9:30. Every other weekends alongside 9 a.m. 6 p.m. Your dinners for Friday, your breakfast and lunch for Saturdays are all catered, so you have to worry about that. Your books are ordered for you. Your classes are registered for you. And all that being said, about 15 hours a week prep time, and that's an average, again, bold, underline, highlight. It just depends on your background. So if you have great math background, you probably won't need a lot of prep time for accounting. Subsequently, if you don't have a very strong math background, you might need a little bit longer with financial accounting, just as an example. So again, it is average of 15 hours a week. Since it's 17 months, as Marcus says, it's intense. It's a lot in 17 months. The irony is when you reach that first semester, you're 20% done with the program. So once you're trying to figure out the balance of work and life in that first semester, you realize I just finished 20% of the program. And then it becomes, okay, so I figured out how to balance work and life. How do I work with my team? How do I study again? How do I take tests again? And because of that, you'll see it gets a little faster over time because you're understanding the process. Marcus, how was your first semester in the program?
The first semester is challenging, as you have to get used to it, and then throughout the other semesters, you're kind of working like a machine. I always say I worked in a 2-week interval, because going to class, you get your assignments, and 2 weeks later you have to deliver, and you only look for that, and then you get your next assignment for the next topic, and so you live in this 2-week rhythm, and then all of a sudden, ka-ching, it's done and over, and you ask yourself, I need more, I want to continue. Is it already to the end? And then you get this fancy head off and fancy paper, and then it's all done. To your point about the study time, I think the 15 to 20 hours in average is about right. As throughout the program, you have your team assignments, which always take a lot of time, also by bringing the people together and to work and stuff like that. So It is a commitment on time on top, as I said earlier. You have your work, you have your MBA, and then on top of that, a lot of people have family or better halves to take care as well. And another big point is that your better half needs to buy into the program, as they have to support you. As you work a lot, you're gone. If they can take, for example, if you have kids, take care of that issue, that helps dramatically.
Right. I agree that the number one word is support. Whether it's from family, friends, work, coworkers, you name it. I think that when they recognize that you're going on this journey, I believe that they are so positive and they want you to succeed. And I think because of that, it helps your challenges not as challenging, because they know that they're there to help you out. Oh, and if you have a question, yes, sir.
For the last couple of years, for me, it has been too much tech.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have this 10 years of management experience. So assuming I'm in a group of, let's say, 5 people who maybe have managerial positions before,
right.
They are far way ahead of me. So if I'm in such a group, how can I be able to back up within this short period of time so that I can contribute? Because at the end of the day, the team is going to present something, and my contributions will also count. So
yes,
it's going to be a huge challenge. How do people like me? How can I solve this problem prior joining the class? Maybe to help me to do, let's say, the preparation before I even join the class, because it seems 10 years experience is a huge experience. Yeah, for someone like me who has been too much tech, and now all of a sudden I have to, be more engaged in managerial, it could be a challenge. So how can I work towards this?
That's a great question. I think that there's a couple, so I think it's a 2-part answer. The first part is, it's good to be challenged, to put in your time, energy, effort, money into a 17-month program and not be challenged, I think is a waste of all those components. So if you recognize this as a challenge from the get-go, I think that's a great first step. The second thing is that if you know your strengths and areas of improvement, then if you say, hey, let me lead this team, or let me lead this project, that will put you in the limelight to become a manager, right? You keeping in mind, you'll be in a school setting. You can fail. It's okay, right? I don't mean the class. Let me clarify. We don't want you to fail the class, but it's okay if you have some setbacks. If you're in a managerial position in a team setting in the school, right? And I think that's the great way to learn. Not just that, you can probably learn from other people within your team and the cohort. What's their managerial style? What's their background? And what can I take from them? And how can I utilize that? And also, you'll be learning managerial styles while you're in the program as well. You're gonna be learning leadership styles and organizational styles while you're in the program as well. So the purpose of this program is to fill those gaps. There is no perfect candidate for any program. There will never be a perfect candidate for any program.
I agree.
Because there has to be gaps of knowledge. Because if there weren't gaps of knowledge, you would not be in any school program. You want to learn, you want to grow, you want to improve. So I think it's a great way to put yourself out there to say, I want to be a better manager. I want to be a better leader. I don't know how, but I have an IT background. That's great. So let's use those strengths in IT to help those who maybe don't have that IT background. What can you do on your part to help them? And in return, how can they help you? Maybe that person you're teaching IT to is in the C-suite, but has no IT background, or maybe has a little IT background, and maybe you could help this individual with their IT knowledge. So you're learning and you're sharing as well. Marcus, go ahead. I apologize.
Yeah, I agree on what you said. And I have a similar background. I came into this whole program as an engineer and then had to learn all the other stuff. And first of all, you're learning through the program, all this financial and managerial thing, and everybody is good at something in one particular area or expertise and can share that with the others. There is nobody in the program who knows all and everything, because otherwise they wouldn't be in the program. Everybody is there to learn. Everybody is there to exchange. Also, there's always the opportunity to lead in the group and show the leadership in terms of a group leader, team leader, and bring everything together, which is quite a learning experience as well. So it all can be done, and I'm pretty sure you can do it too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So with all of this being said, the application process is really a process we want to bring down the barriers and make it very easy. There are a couple ways of doing it. I know on the slide it says fill out an application, order transcripts, and do an interview. If you want to do a one-on-one consultation first before applying, you can do that. If you want to send me a resume before we have a consultation, you can do that. I'll have my contact information up on the last slide, but we want to make it easy for you. No stress situation. What we do recommend is if you do order transcripts, to make it, if they're unofficial, to do it sooner rather than later, because sometimes universities, specifically international universities, it takes a little longer to get them over here. So if you are interested, please go ahead and send us your official or unofficial transcripts. You'll see the admission criteria. If you have the minimum 7 years work of professional work experience and management level 7 years, please note it does not say you need a bachelor's. I cannot stress that enough. If you don't have a bachelor's, but you have a lot of work experience, internships, anything along those lines that got you to getting a great experience, then that will definitely count towards in the admissions process. And I really believe that this will help you become a better professional, personal, just a better human being because of what comes with it. It will help you grow and help you advance. And these are just some of the things that are included in the tuition, right? Ranging from the materials, the workshops, career coaches to help you, mentoring programs. You can get, again, those additional fintech and data analytics certificates, Lean Six Sigma Green Belt, which is wonderful to have if you don't have that experience. You're going to be getting personality assessments. You will also be a member of a tremendous network. Also, you'll be a member of the World Affairs Council, which does tremendous things as well to keep everybody in the loop from an international perspective. And you will see on the bottom, and oh, by the way, it also covers your international residency, excluding your flights, and if you do additional things outside of what is offered. So if you want to go somewhere extra on your own, it's not included in that. But if sometimes safaris are included in that. So if you're on a safari, that's included in it as well. So as you can see, there is an awful lot included in this. And that's why we go back to that first or second slide about why there's such a tremendous value for an EMBA under $100,000. And I think there's someone that had a question. Okay. So Mark has a question. Is EMBA a great help for founding a company? What are the benefits entrepreneurs? Marcus, I feel like, is your company, did you find that company?
Yes, I founded that company, so I'm an entrepreneur.
Yes. And how do you think it helped you with that?
So we had, at least during my time, there was no specific course about entrepreneurship but it was kind of weaved in the overall program. And some of the faculty members, like Dave Forker, is actually an entrepreneur. In my point of view, it helped just by understanding the financial side, the managerial side,
Right.
business itself, the leadership part to it, all these topics, and of course marketing, completely forgot about that. More or less every class, what you do there is important to run a company. And by getting this know-how on top of your already existing know-how, in my case, engineering plus this know-how is the foundation to do something on your own.
Right. Absolutely. Does that answer your
question? Of course,
question?
at the end of the day, you have to do it by yourself and or come up with that. And there's nobody telling you you have to become an entrepreneur. It's everybody's choice of what they're comfortable with and what they want to do. And for some it works, for some it doesn't work.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I forgot to mention that if you are part of a multi-employee, so if you are, for example, at IBM and another person from IBM wants to start the MBA program, then both of you get a $5,000 tuition reduction. Or if you're part of a not-for-profit, or if you're a local government employee, you get a $5,000 reduction for the program. Okay, thank you. Okay, wonderful. And you know, the elephant in the room is, how do you finance the EMBA, right? It's a great question. It's you know, so one of the things, my top recommendation is go to your employer's HR departments and see what their tuition reimbursement is. I've heard any numbers ranging from $5,250 to $10,000. There has been some occasions where they will help you for the whole thing. So again, I just recommend going back to your HR and see what they say. If you are a domestic student, then apply for FAFSA. Unfortunately, if you're international, you cannot apply for FAFSA. But if you're an international student and you're trying to still get some options, another recommendation is to contact our financial services team. And you'll see here it's rcbfinancialaid@gsu.edu. And they are great to speak with. They are professional. They are quick with responses. And since they work in the College of Business, they know the program specifically to help you with any questions you may have. And speaking of questions, that's who I am. That's my LinkedIn profile. That's my email address, my phone number, emba.gsu.edu for going to the website to maybe answer some questions. And this is all recorded, so if you want to get back to it, you can. Hopefully you took some pictures with your phone, but if not, no problems. You know, this will be recorded. I will stop talking. Please go ahead with questions. I'd love to hear questions. Please go right ahead.
Don't be shy.
Yes.
I have a question. You mentioned the 15 hours a week prep time. I don't know what you mean by prep exactly. What does that encompass? Because the 15 hours seems very, actually, for me, a bit on the low side, to be honest, from just what I'm imagining.
That's everything outside of what's happening in the class. That's your studying, learning, being part of the teams, the cohorts, working on projects, all of that.
Okay,
And
so
I would say it's more towards the 20 hours.
So you would budget probably about 20 hours a week then, realistically.
In average, it can be sometimes more, sometimes less, but that's about the average throughout the program.
Okay, great, thank you.
And always remember, you have this 2-week interval. So 1 week is always no school, but then you have to do a lot of prep time. And then the weekend after, you're sitting more or less in class the whole weekend.
Right, gotcha. Okay, thank you.
So assuming you fail in one course, which can happen, probably. So I'm not thinking of.
I didn't get your question.
I mean, in case you fail on something, like should it be one course or another course, or is there a means of maybe repeating it, or if you don't meet the deadline, let's say you have 2 weeks to prepare for an assignment, you don't meet the deadline. I mean, what are the consequences or the penalties that one might face?
I think that your team will not let that happen. I think that the professor will not let that happen. I think that you will have such a support system around you to say, hey, Enoch, what's going on? Is everything okay? Do you need a little assistance with A, B, or C? How can we help with your projects? This is a team. This is a team that wants to see you do well. So in the 40 plus years, and I've been here for 9 years, and with this program for close to a year, I can say the history, there may have been a handful of individuals out of 1,400 who have not completed the program. So it is a doable program. Students have done very well, grade-wise, knowledge-wise, career-wise, that I really don't believe that they're going to say, well, you're failing, so we're just going to let you keep on failing. Again, that's not the mentality at all of this program.
Which still means that you need to deliver your stuff on time.
Right. Yes.
Definitely.
Yes, that's correct.
I would formulate the other way around. Yes, you still need to deliver on time your assignments. And if you don't put your assignment in on time, then yes, you get a grade F, which then gets into your overall grade average and will have its affection. But on the other hand, to come on Ian's point, there is also a support system, as when people in the university see that things are not working out, they put additional support in tutoring, or even faculty members organize tutoring sessions for special topics like accounting. For us was for everybody a big struggle, and our professor put an additional session in to help so that everybody get through, and so therefore everybody can go through. We had also in our class 2 people who had issues in outside of school, work related stuff like that, where they decided I'll stop here. As with this EMBA program, it's an annual turnaround. They had then to do a break for at least a year to then get into the next class and then start from there and finishing up. So that is an option, as well. As we all know, in this 17 months, a lot of things can happen. You may relocate, you have family issues, stuff like that. So you are able to stop at one point of time, do a break for a year or 2 years, and then continue the program with, and of course, then with a new cohort. But I've seen, for example, these 2 people then just graduating a year later. So it's all possible.
So what types of real life scenarios, like the team will work on projects? Do you have an example so that we can imagine how the projects look like, the topic?
Out of the top of my mind, I don't have a specific one, but the projects we worked on are always use cases which are, for example, published in the WHR and stuff like that. So it's about current problems and issues. We talk about the big companies in the world, like Teslas and Amazons and Walmarts and stuff like that, which then helps also everybody to kind of find their way through. So it's always interesting cases. and on a lot of them, there's no right or wrong. There's always that favorite quote from Nate Bennett, the faculty chair. His favorite answer on everything is always, it depends. Right, Jan?
That's something he would say. Yep, that's exactly something he would say. But the Enoch's point is that you can get any corporation and you can learn about it in any class. So you can say Google, for example, and if you're learning about from their corporate from the legal class, are they doing everything on the up and up, or is there a case for unionization? Or you can bring up Google to marketing. How can Google market certain products differently? Or you can talk about Google in the leadership class. How can the CEO improve their culture? And when you bring up certain articles, how can they do things differently? So any class that you go to, you can pretty much incorporate those teachings into major corporations. And quite honestly, there may be certain individuals in your class who are having an issue that they need help with. And that honestly, that happens actually a few times. So the real world is brought into by a lot of times your classmates. That's a good question, Marina.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Don't be shy.
We have about 3 minutes left.
Okay. Well, my last question maybe will be, you didn't talk about accommodation. How expensive is it? Like for a student, for an international student, how much do one have to consider per month?
Sure. So for out of state, it's going to be $80,000. You do it in 5 payments at the beginning of each semester. So after your $1,000 seat deposit or $1,000 towards your tuition for a commitment, I believe it's about $15,000 for each semester. And I think the last semester is a little bit less because it's the balance remaining. So it's about $15,000 requesting before the beginning of each semester starts. About 5 semesters.
Also, the program is in person, so it's organized at the Buckhead campus, which is exit 2 on 400. A good location, central to reach. And great environment there. Which again is a good point. I guess during COVID, you guys did also the remote learning, but being in a class with the people and having there the discussion, but also the social interaction, that's really the value. Right. And that also brings the cohort together and keeps them connected throughout the years. So I'm still in contact with the majority of the people of my cohort. And we have a group chat where we send messages around on a regular basis. And from time to time, we also still meet physically and talk about the good times we had back then.
Well, I cannot thank Marcus enough for all of his insights. I cannot thank everybody attending. Thais, thank you so much for being here in the German American Chamber of Commerce. If there's any questions, my information is on the chat box there. You want to take a picture of it with your phone. There's Marcus's contact if you want to take a picture with your phone. There's my email address, his email address. Any questions, please don't hesitate to email any of us. Thank you again so much for being here, taking the time out of your day to be a part of this. And any questions, please let us know. Oh, there you go. There's a cell as well. Touch, is there anything else? Any other events coming up?
Not in Atlanta next week, but the week after, we will have a expert panel of what's currently happening or what the status is of logistics and supply chain, May 24th. So if you visit our website, it'll be at the Baker Donaldson building in Buckhead. It will also have a hybrid component. So if you aren't able to make it in person, we will try to have a hybrid component.
Excellent, excellent. Well, again, thank everybody for being here, and have a great day or evening wherever you are, and we hope to speak with you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Very
Thank you,
interesting.
everybody.
All right.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
you too.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.